All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the final refrain recap round two. I am Aaron, aka Orion. I'm here with Emperor Riku, and we've got a very special guest with us, Drazcor from Archon's Corner. Welcome in, guys.
How's it going?
It
Hello,
is
everyone.
I'm
going
excited to be here.
great.
Excited to be
Yeah.
here. Excited to be hanging out with you guys. We've got the Lord Emperor himself, which is very exciting. I feel like I should bow or something. Yeah. And Orion, you do great work, man. So I'm excited to be here.
Thanks. We got I mean, lots of shoulders to stand on in this group right now, so very, very fun. Maybe Sydney. Maybe he's
That
just
is what
been waiting for the opportune
just
time.
for my moment, Sydney. Yes.
No, so Draz, you mentioned on Archon's Corner a couple weeks ago actually being excited about this
Yeah.
and wanting to try and maybe get into casting, but it sounds like you've had kind of a busy couple weeks.
Yeah.
It's been yeah.
Super busy, and if you listen to the cast, you'll be like, hey, why is he missing for 2 weeks in a row? So I've been traveling on business, so it's been just the timing for me has been rough, unfortunately, but listening in on what's going on, listening to Wookie the Wookie talk about the game since he's playing my deck. So
Yeah.
I asked how did it go, all that stuff. So
Gonna start asking him for some royalties for that.
I should. So, yeah.
Is
This is
that
a super exciting tournament, super exciting stuff. So I'm excited to be here and hang out with you guys and talk about it.
does that mean we got you back or we got you before you got back to Archon's Corner?
Yeah, I haven't returned to the cast yet. That's true. Next week I'll be recording again. So, yes.
Shots fired already from the Wookiee saying you got to step up the beard game.
Oh, more beard. Was that more or less? What do I need? What do I need, Wookie?
You got
More or
Rico and
less
I
right
beat
now.
by a good. I mean, you got both got me beat by the head of hair, but
There you go. Yeah.
all right.
So,
So we're gonna get into the matchups from this week. Gonna be really, really good. So we've got the bracket we're gonna take a look at, and then we'll go through all the matches, and then the matches that will follow up to all of those. So we'll look at each match that happened this week and each new matchup that those created for next week. We'll look through some statistics and the predictions we have, and then the final new bracket. So let's dive in. Here's our starting bracket that we had. Again, 32 players, all kind of handpicked from previous Archon champions or Archon just people who've been doing well in the community, and it's a single elimination bracket. So we see a lot of really big names drop off really fast. You can see those brutal red marks crossing off a lot of people, including a lot of teammates here for some people, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Including me.
Yeah, including Riku.
Let it out, right, Rico? That's all right.
Yeah.
You want to be the emperor sitting upon high, watching across your domain as folks battle it out, right? I can see how.
Yeah, he really did it just for the sake of being able to, organize things better, right? It's not really about him wanting to, keep going in the tournament. He just wanted to run the tournament. So he's just like, I'll just take a loss here.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
But
on my plan. It's on my plan to slow in the first round. Total,
Yeah. Although
totally
not,
calculated.
not to take anything away from Lorenzo, though, he's an awesome player, awesome deck. So we'll get to that in a bit. Yeah.
yeah, we'll get to see Lorenzo's round 2 here in a second. But so first 16 already cut out. So this week we started the round of 16. So 8 matches total. And let's dive into those. I'm going to bump my audio up a little bit. This is my first time using VOD Ninja at everyone. So if the audio is a little bit weird, please let me know and I'll try to adjust while we're in here.
Just start going like this, which means bump the audio. Is that what we do?
I mean, if I'm doing that, then it's like I'm telling other people they need to bump their audio.
Gotcha.
Awesome. Thanks, Sydney.
Gotcha.
All right, so let's get into game 1 of this week. We had Sith of Angmar versus Matsi. This is our first or another teammate of Riku here having a matchup against Matsi, who had the only AoA deck in the tournament. So this is sort of their round 1 stats coming into this matchup. Lots of similar stuff here, right? Pretty close on the key game. Sith of Angmar going 2-1, whereas Matsi went 2-0. But these decks are very, very different from each other, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at this matchup. So what do y'all see here right away?
So I this that so I just want to talk about the decks for just a moment, right? What's interesting to me is that these two decks are not at all the stereotypical decks from these sets, right? When you hear AOA, you're like, well, of course he has Jenka, right? But there's no Mars here, no Mars in Chodazard. You're like, what? But it's an amazing deck, right? When you look at Faith, you see whoa, like, okay, well, it must have one of the amazing tokens, but it's rocking the strange shell, and it's rocking it in a totally weird way with the sandhoppers and that pipped out steward. So these stats are interesting, but I feel like they don't necessarily tell the story of the decks, especially for Faith. Faith is a strange deck, right? 6.3 expected Ember. No. Talk about how about a million expected Ember with the way it's bouncing cards all over the place. But 27 for Charizard, I believe that. I don't know. Did you guys a
That
chance to
seems
watch this
low to
game?
me for Chorzard. Chorzard
Yeah.
is a crazy fast deck if things line up.
Yeah. It's
But
got
Riku, who
okay.
did you think was going to win this, Riku? Because I think both players were actually a little bit surprised by what happened here. Were you
So
surprised? Riku's never surprised.
yeah, I was surprised. So I have Sick of Angmar practice the matchup, and I think
Oh yeah,
uh I think Master asked Agenon R for practice as well, and because I and Agenon are friends, so we talk about that a lot. And then Agenon say that in his practice with Master, uh, he, he Master only win about one out of 7 game also. Yeah, and it exactly the same with how I practice with Sick of Angmar. I was just that only win about 1 out of 7 game. So what all of us, including both player, come to the conclusion that just that should lose the match. And then
and then yeah. So if you didn't get to watch this match, Chorzard went crazy. It just outpaced what Faith was able to do. Finding a lot of answers right at the right time, especially the neutron shark. Right, I think in that game one, the neutron shark just didn't hit anything, so I was able to take out several artifacts, and Sith just wasn't able to get the amber control going. So one of the really big, well, I guess in this matchup, there's no, like you said, there's no key abduction. That's one of the weaknesses that Faith can have, right? Is that key abduction actually takes off the board one of the big amber control pieces that Faith has in the Mix the Tall Minded. That wasn't a big deal here. This one, it was just that you were never able to get things going because Short was just out the gates going so fast.
That neutron shark being able to take out the sandhoppers is big for the matchup, right? Because the sandhoppers is really a huge part of Faith. I've had the
Yeah,
pleasure of facing
same.
against Faith a number of times, and how quickly Sith is able to get some of those pieces online, specifically the sandhoppers and the steward, and then the Mars just to be oppressive is really important. And so Charizard has the pieces to disrupt those artifacts. Not as much to disrupt Hand, right? And Hand is
Yeah.
another way to mess with Faith, but it was enough here.
Yeah, it sure was. And so it also has the remote access, which makes those actually really scary because getting your time traveler bounced and then played again, like that's not what
Mm-hmm.
Faith wants to see either. But yeah, so we can kind of show here's what happened. If you didn't get to see those again, go back and watch all of these because they're still great matches. But trying to remember, do you remember Riku if this was a 2-0 or a 2-1? I think it was a 2-0.
it's too old. It's too
Yeah,
old.
that's the one thing I don't think we had on here. But so that is an AOA deck. Again, the only AOA deck in the tournament, now making it into our top 8. So that is exciting at least.
Yeah, and
And
just that
not Jenka. Crazy.
And not Jenka.
and just that has not lose a single game in 2 rounds.
Yeah, so 2-0 first round and 2-0 second round. And that is the
Wow.
last Winds of Exchange deck getting knocked out, unfortunately. And is that also the last Reap Out member getting knocked out? We'll go over the teams later, but
No, no,
sorry, Reap
there's been
Out.
some
we
casualties.
we will talk about the last rip our member later. Sick of
Okay, we'll
Angmar
we'll
is
get
not
there later. Oh
Okay.
yeah. I know which one you're talking about. Good question from the Wookiee here. I do not have automatic lights, but I can go find someone to turn them off for you every 10 minutes so we can start dancing again. Drazcor and I have had some good times doing that in the past. So,
The
oh
San
yeah,
Antonio vault where we had to wave our
it
arms
was
around like fools every
fantastic.
few
Sydney
minutes just
too.
to
We
keep the
all had a
lights going.
great time just doing the.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was, but it was kept us moving. Sitting here for a long time
Mhm.
can get kind of stiff and stuff. So. All right, let's move into game two. This is a very close one to home for Riku here, and also for another one of our team members who's been working really, really hard on the final refrain. Lord Judo Harmed is his team member as well. So this was a very there's a lot of emotions tied up in this match. Riku, you want to kind of tell us what you were thinking coming into this one?
So I think Ham had a little bit of advantage in this matchup. We what I practiced this on stream before between the two deck, and then I think the deck that Ham used the famous Ash one, it win about it win about 60 to 40%, 60 to 40, yeah. For also Ham and Lock Sudo also practice the game, and they think that Ash also win about to uh, 7-3. So it should be so normally it should be the game for Ham, but what I want to say to Bamboo when we before we come to into the game is that there's no room for mistake. Uh, and she needs to play very carefully, and then well, I I might not be a good I might not be a good one to help you for before game right now.
So now she blames you because you said that, and
Well, I'll just say from preparation standpoint, Harmed it came fully decked out, right? I'm sure he wore that to the match, right? That picture right there, the bow tie and everything, right? And
he's
Bamboo much more casual in her attire, so that's obviously an important aspect of the game, right?
I mean, yes, but this picture of Bamboo was also taken like just a few hours after she was in a wedding dress, right? So like she can
She does have
also
that glow. It's true. That's true.
do this in
So,
style.
yeah.
But yeah, both
Hmm.
very
Hmm.
classy players. So we started talking about the decks. I was just gonna say on that last screen, both of them did have a rough round one to get here. It was not a sure thing for either of them facing off against two very good opponents. Both their decks playing fairly differently, but both getting the 2-1 win to get here and then facing off against each other. So we've got the famous Pastor Ass Nimrod on the left there. Again, double key abduction, winds of death, Nepenseed, and just a nasty Mars suite versus the world reigning champion, me. Me? Am I saying? I don't know. I'm sorry if I'm not saying that right. But
Uh, you say it right. You
I
say it
did?
right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Which is not does have a key cheat, right? It has the ecto charge, but it's primarily just this crazy engine with a Geistoid that is a repeatable board clear, amber control, and amber generation that once you get it going, it's very, very difficult to stop. Um, but it has issues with key abduction, right? Like you said, you can't make mistakes. And even then, if the key abduction gets started early enough, there's not a whole lot of answers that Knee has to that, right?
Yeah. So it's basically this two deck is like a solitaire game. They play their own game and may not care about what opponent do in this matchup.
Yeah, they're both not the most interactive decks. This is a good way of saying that. Which is funny to say though, because there's still very interesting decisions in those games, and there's room for small mistakes to really matter, which you wouldn't necessarily expect from two decks that are very sort of doing their own thing. But when you get into Grim Reminders, that can really happen, right?
Yeah, I mean, certainly just playing your game plan, executing on it really well, and being the person that your opponent has to stop and has to answer to can be very strong. Now, Pastor Ass, right? The best ass in the whole algorithm is I mean, it's got pieces that I think do give me problems, right? So the winds of death at the right time can be really strong for Pastor S. Pastor has got stuff that on play is real strong out of the archives, right? It's got that haunting witch, it's got the rebel to trigger the double doctor, right? It's got the
Hmm.
target, so it's got things that coming out of the winds are quite strong. And he has some things too, but I think perhaps a little less, right? So the Mars is not quite as crazy on play, right? It's more of the Geistoid that has
Yeah.
via actions, not as much the creatures, but via actions does a lot of the craziness, right? So I could see where Pastor S could be a challenge for Knee, but certainly if and I'm sure I'm saying it wrong, but if Knee is on its game and firing in all cylinders, and then like is it's going to be hard to face. It's hard to challenge that. So this should have been, it was a real cool matchup. Um, and
It
cool to
should have
see what
been.
happened.
Unfortunately, game two, I think, was one of the best draws Pastor Ass has had. I mean, obviously, like, Harmed is an incredible player. He could have done really nasty things with a much worse draw, but sometimes decks like these just also have the crazy starts. And I think game one, like, it was very, very close. There was kind of one decision that was in it one way or the other. Game two was just brutal, if I remember correctly, right, Riku? It was that game two where
Yeah,
the Mars and Ash just went nuts.
yeah. So
So
that how that but that's how usually the asthma will go, because it's very easy to pull up the mass combo in that deck, and it can also win just do that and
yeah,
without playing any win of death. So
yeah. Because is it double target or just one? I think it's
I think
double
Uh,
it's only
target.
one, but
Yeah,
there's
they
one
double
double
target.
target.
Rico.
Yeah.
Oh
But
yeah,
if
the
yeah,
replay
double
pod. Yeah,
UFO helps
and
you
UFO.
get to the replay pot, right? There's lots the Nepenthe seed. There's lots of ways to recur. So
Yeah.
it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Well, unfortunately, we did have world reigning champion Bamboo knocked out again. This is a vicious tournament. There's so many good players here. But yeah, that is the result of that one. Congrats to Harmed, and now we get to see the new matchup created by these two matches we just saw, Harmed versus Matsy. So already we can see here a little bit of a key difference where Matsy doesn't have as many keys because, like you said, Riku, he's won 2-0 every game. So there's not been those third games to get you there, whereas Harmed has at least had one game three, so a little bit more. Really, a lot of the stats here are favoring Harmed. I think this is going to be honestly just an uphill battle for Matsy. So let's go ahead and take a look at this matchup. So really, really quick, we did have an issue with the slide. You can't see Matsy's face, but we got the deck. So we just talked about all these decks, but now we're got a new matchup between these. What do you guys think about this? Old school AOA, TMTP, and time traveler combos versus
Yeah.
the new hotness.
I mean, it's going to be, either of these decks could just draw really well and just execute game plan and win. But when I look at, hey, if you don't get that perfect draw, what are you going to be able to do? The, I if I'm playing the Charizard, I'm a little worried that the double key abduction, double winds of death is going to mean that keys are going to be forged without my opportunity to use all of my stealing power, right? My
Yeah,
TMTP, my Ronnie, right? My double brand. I'm worried about that. Now, I do have some good targets with the neutron shark to take out in terms of artifacts and creatures with double wins. I'm less excited to immediately take out necessarily, but I got some good artifact targets. I don't know if they're as important for Pastor S's game plan as it was for Faith's game plan. So I, I think I think the the ass is a little bigger here.
Riku.
Yeah, I agree. I'm so sorry, Master. I'm so sorry. I I I
Riku
think
has no
I
faith
think
in you, Matsy.
I put congratulations to Master for making top A, and and this will be your end.
So,
Content. I think
yeah,
if you're Matsu, you got to come in an even nicer suit than Harmed here to just give yourself that extra edge to maybe eke out that victory. I think that's what you got to do, Matsu. You
you
know,
can always join the bald head club too. You know,
or that.
it's the thing to do.
Yes, yes.
Uh, yeah. So it's really interesting just how like Winds of Death on its own against Chorzard is terrible, right? Because there's so many play effects, there's so many creatures that have value. But like I think what you were saying, Draz, the key cheats make the value of Chorzard, like so many of those cards have so much less value as soon as there's key cheats involved, and that's just gonna make it really, really tough. Again, he might have a chance to outrace, but he has like 4 turns because Ass is getting set up in about that time very, very often. So it'll be interesting, but we'll see how it goes. All right, moving to the bottom left of our bracket now. We've got again one of our other final refrain aficionados associates here, Lord Judo versus Mike Fooney. Um, yeah, both again pretty interesting roads to get here. They're both being pretty dominant so far in their early matchups. The 2-0 wins. Mike Fooney just you know Bandola doing Bandola things, but obviously he's got to know how what he's doing with it too, and he definitely does. Lord Judo. I don't know that I got to actually watch Judo's. Man, I'm bad at this. I'm not sure if I watched this round one, but Lord Judo bring in a oh, what's he got? The other GR deck again, not a key abduction deck, but still a pretty aggressive GR deck. But now we've got Bandola versus Flamingief, Lackey
Yeah.
of Urchin. So what would you guys think about this one coming into it? I mean, Bandola obviously has the name tied to it, right?
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's hard not to like Bandola, given everything it's done, everything it's won. Uh, Flamjith, I do kind of like this deck though. I've actually played this deck before. Just decks that are for sale that are high SAS, I'll mess around with them. And Flamjith was pretty fun to play. Right, it's got really strong C. It's got interesting stuff with the market double market fluctuation too. If you can time it right, really mess with your opponent's hand.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a legacy foozle just for funsies with the final refrain, which you instantly get points in this tournament if you bring a deck with final refrain, right? And it's got the brick nasty to go with the final refrain, the memorialize the fallen, the riot, and then of course over in Geistoid you've got your ecto charge. Now you don't have some of the absolute killer combos in this deck, but I like a lot of what I see. Right, it's got solid A, it's got really strong C, it's got good Ember generation, no artifact control, but um, but there's a lot to like here.
Yeah.
However, is there enough to like to say you're going to take it over Bandola? I mean, Bandola, right? It's got the crazy Witch Queen combo that can execute. It's got the Brio Calp
Yeah.
Ultra Protection package. And then just a really strong, solid Geistoid with Winds of Death and Boo and Ecto Charge, right? Grim Reaper to purge stuff, right? It's
Yeah.
it's I mean, it's got so many pieces. It's really hard not to say you're gonna like Bandola. Bandola, 48 hearts right now on DOK. Flamgeneth,
That's it.
4. Yeah,
Yeah.
4.
Bandola it's one of those decks where it's one of the few I think I've ever seen where multiple people have described it as like an it does everything deck. Like very, very few decks in Keyforge can kind of do everything, and Bandola is one of the few that really can attack you from every angle. But Judo, or sorry, Riku, assuming you actually got to watch this match, you want to tell us how it went down?
So I think for this matchup, Lord Judo have the deck that Lord Judo bring the flaming ship. It had it had a lot of disruption. So I can see a few lines of play that can somehow it can win again Bandola. but it will need to be happen in the very right time. And they also think that that can help him win against Badola. That is that he needs to BLG the trawler from Badola, bring it and then play the mid-year festival to get all the
Mm.
amber pack, and that is the only play that he can win in this matchup. But surprisingly to him, not surprised to me, but to him, is that my Funi spent a lot of time to practice the matchup. He told
Mm.
us he played about 100 game between the
Wow.
two decks. So he
Wow.
know he know every single line of play between the matchups, and then then he because that he archive the trawler instead of leaving it in the discard. So to stop Loxudo from BOGs the trawler and stop the plan completely.
Wow. I mean,
That's
So
that's
yeah,
that's pretty good.
basically it's a win in both deck, and I think in like player skill as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
He,
that's what the best competitive
yeah.
players are gonna do, right? They're gonna practice. They're gonna figure out exactly what it takes. And man, talk about just some commitment. And yeah, big congratulations to
Wow.
Mike Fooney for the win. Was that a 2-0
Um,
win again then, or
Yeah, it's
I
a
believe it
2-0.
was?
And
Yeah.
why we are talking about it on stream, I think my Funi also practice some on this year.
Right
yeah.
there practicing for the next
There you
matchup, which we'll
go.
see in just a
Practice the
minute. But
next one.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's
The
again.
only other thing I was thinking could have been a piece for Flamjeth to try to, but it's tricky to do, right? Is talent scout to try to hit Brio or to hit Kelp
Mm,
and take those pieces away, and then pull up stakes to shuffle talent scout or to pull talent scout back to hand to do it again, right? Like
yeah.
there's uh but you got to get those pieces at the right time and hit the hand at the
Everything
right
has to
time.
hit
It's
at the
tough.
right time.
It's
And if
tough.
you're off by
It's
one
tough.
turn,
Yeah.
then you're facing the Brio and you can't do half of the stuff you needed
Yeah.
to. So,
That's
yeah, I
right.
mean, again, it's a very, very tough matchup. They both knew what they needed to do. Unfortunately, Mike Fooney knew what Judo needed to do and was able to play around it very well. So, again, taking the 2-1 or 2-0 win there. Let's move on to Vargas versus GJ999. Again, two more 2-0 players coming out of round one. Uh, we've got a GR versus GR matchup here. Both these players bringing the Wadka, which you can see in some of their. I mean, they're not even going to check really. They're doing their stuff and then they're doing the combo and they're winning. So this is going to be a really really interesting matchup. I got to cast this one, or did I cast this one? This week is a blur. I
Let's say
remember
you
this
did.
matchup a
Let's
lot.
go with yes. Why not?
A lot more clearly. Let's take a look at these decks here. So Vargas again with Isaac Bean Watson, named after his son. This is a GR deck with the Winds of Death and some nice Brobnar and Geistoid shenanigans, and then the Key Abduction, of course. Going against Painted AI of the Street. Very, very similar stuff. Substitute Untamed for the Brobnar, but yeah, this was an interesting one. I think Winds of Death or Wadka matches, like mirror matches, are really interesting, and there's some really key cards you have to look for in the decks. Uh, Riku and Sydney cast it. Yeah, that might be right. Riku, did you cast this
Oh,
one?
it's me. I completely forgot.
It's
It's
just
been a
because you're
long week,
watching
guys.
so
We're
many matches, Orion. That's why, there you go. There you go.
just be glad we're here. I
Yeah.
watched
Oh,
this one
Bean
though.
is
I was
really
able to.
cool.
Which one?
Yeah.
Bean.
Bean is a really cool deck, right? I've seen this be played before. Those triple junk restorations just to power through the deck,
Yeah.
right? Your Hallowed Eve to flip more cards, to get to the spot where working through using your Winds of Death, using your Cape Abductions really strong. It's pretty strong, right? And then double Berserker Slam, double Riot, with double Recklessness, just lots of ways to turn cards, mess with your opponent, make things happen. Bean's a strong deck. Um, but
But the
I had
problem
not.
is he practiced
Mhm.
against Riku.
I see. I see. The yeah, painted AI is interesting. So I had not seen this deck before. You can see right here on the screen a lot lower amber control, which is interesting. Now maybe that's not as important against a Wadka because if you're not increasing key costs, then maybe it's not as important because you're not going to have the opportunity to steal or something like that. It does have the artifact control, which could be useful. Um, it's got two winds of death,
Hmm.
and but then it's also got the targets, right? It's got two targets as opposed to the one target in Bean, so a little easier to recur the key abduction. Um, and then I kind of like the something package. I don't, it's not uh it doesn't read devastating, but it's got lots of tools, right? You've got the
Yeah.
Fang Tooth, you've got the Hunting Witch. Was it devastating in the match? I don't know.
Not really. I would
Mm,
say like I don't know. I mean it's fine. It does good, but I think just in general, Painted AI and GJ have impressed me so much in this tournament. Like
mm,
I think one Painted AI is one of the better Wadka decks in this tournament, and there's a lot of Wadka decks in this tournament. It is just so fast at setting up. It's got the Boo in there. It's got the In Here Somewhere. It's got the two targets and the two Winds of Death. So just multiple games that it's played. The first one to get a lot of stuff in the discard is just huge. And I think GJ has also played around his opponents outs to that very, very well. So again, going back to this being Winds of Death versus Winds of Death or Wadka versus Wadka, both of these decks have cards that like can mess with that, right? So Vargas has the Recklessness, which we saw like this the chess match when both players were very close to the end of their deck between like is the Recklessness going to actually cause one of them to flip? Should one of them actually flip because both of them have their Winds of Death in the discards, but one of them maybe has an archives, and so it's kind of like the first one to play Winds of Death loses. It actually gets really, really psychological and interesting. And I just like both players played great, but I've been super, super impressed by GJ in both round one and this round in how he's just navigated these sort of mirror matches. And I think his deck is very well suited for it too.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. I agree. I think Giza 999 play very well, and he know when to play risky and when to know when to play it safe. So his game is very beautiful to watch.
Yeah. And Vargas, I mean, definitely did as much as he could, but there were places where you could just tell he just had to had to dig for something, had to find an answer, and there had to be some luck involved, and it just didn't go his way. But that's just because he got into these situations where it's just like one deck kind of just had the advantage, and his was usually the one that had to try and find an answer and just wasn't able to. So we do have GJ taking the win on that one, which means for our matchup here, we've got Wadka versus Bandola. And this is a
Bandola.
match that I'm surprised I have not seen more of, but I mean, I have guesses on how this goes, but it should be really interesting. Um, Riku, what do you think about this one?
I think this one will be difficult to predict, but I think Badola can had a little bit of the advantage over here, and but yeah, but I think it will come down to how good a player for this matchup between them, because there are a lot of way that the Badola can stop the win Kai. He can also play the Alpha Toipo to stop a lot of action coming from Bandit A. But if he didn't, but if Gizai 99 can go fast, quick, he can just win by multiple key with Badola is lacking, because Badola doesn't have any key in the untamed, and that's a little bit slow when it needs.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think it is definitely gonna be interesting. I think it's gonna be hard to beat Bandola. I haven't watched Painted AI and GJ rock this deck. I don't see immediate counters to perfect counter, like perfect type counters that you want to go up against either Brya, the Brio Calp, or to go up against the Witch Queen. Like, you gotta Painted Eye's gotta discard its Kangafant, right? Don't play that, right? Like, I don't know. The scoop ups they're not gonna hit Brio. Though maybe if you can scoop Calp or Witch Queen. But I think it's going to be tough, but certainly
Yeah.
if it comes out firing fast, that could be very good. All these decks are strong, but I think it's going to be a little uphill battle.
Yeah, and we have some nice stats here. So Snoopy, who's been one of the ones working more on the back end, getting a lot of the statistics for us from these games. We've been copying the logs, and they've been running it through some algorithms and stuff. So I think Bandola, I think you were saying this, Riku, Bandola has generated the most amber of this tournament. Is that what you said? Something like that?
Something like that. That would
Yeah,
make sense to me. Yeah.
Badola Unter be in the best spot
Yeah.
in the event right now for Amber the rating. It in average it's 4 Amber a turn.
Yeah. So like that amber generation does give you a chance of outracing the key abduction. If it's off by one turn, you still have a chance to forge a couple keys before that gets going. I think the disruption, like you said, the Calp, the Brio, like if those land on the board at the wrong time for a GJ, you're just going to be out of luck. So I think there is going to be just a little bit of who can kind of find their stuff first or the right stuff. But Bandola also has the option of just racing and not finding anything and just going for it. It'll be a really interesting matchup. I'm excited to see what happens with that one. And going back to your earlier question, Draz, Painted AI has only played Untamed in 13% of its turns. So the
Okay.
Untamed is
And then
not a big
yeah,
deal in that deck.
yeah, yeah. No, that makes sense to me. That it looks fine, but it doesn't look crazy, right? And you want
Yeah.
crazy for to make it all the way through these tournaments. So
Yeah, and
yeah.
Nick asking for a few more of those stats. We're supposed to be saying some of them as we go through here, but none of us are professionals, so we're trying to get them in when we can.
Yeah. Well, I
All
will
right,
say Painted AI only has 2 hearts right now on DOK, which is way too
we've
few.
been
So everybody go out there and heart Painted AI. Give it a little love before it goes to the next
been
round.
judging these matchups completely wrong. We should have been we should be looking at
Looking at
who
the
is
hearts.
laughing at the names, right? The best
Mm-hmm.
names is really what we would expect
Uh,
to win. But
that's true. That's true. There's
all right,
9 funny faces for Bandola and 48 hearts.
9 funny faces. Who thinks that's a funny name? It's just terrifying.
I imagine people use it for certain data because you can get it when it
Archmage of
exports.
this. Yeah, there's
And
nothing funny about that. Come on. Other ones we had like Purple Lerp, that's a funny name,
yeah.
which I think is maybe what we're seeing next. All right, so we're moving over to the upper right-hand corner of our bracket now. I'm going to try and keep this moving, and this one is one that I casted. I do remember that. This was Grishhammer versus Holy Stew, and this is Amber Skies versus Amber Skies. It was really fun. I think I got to do at least one of their round ones as well. Both of them having to take their round ones 2-1, which I think is just going to be a little bit more like Amber Skies has a lot of good answers. It's very good, but it's not always going to be like super dominant. It's going to be close games a lot of times. But on the left hand side for Grishhammer, we have what became kind of a boogeyman deck in this tournament, Girarado Fountain General, which is the Geistoid enhanced corner of the market with the double in here somewheres. So in that round one, we did see Grishhammer being able to get those lockouts going against a Tokens of Change deck, which against Tokens of Change, you really have to get the board out of the way as well. And Grishhammer was just able to get the de-escalations at the right time, clear the board, start the lockout, and was able to get. It was still a very hard fought win, but able to get the win there against, I believe that was Easy Galena. And then Holy Stew's deck is kind of just Amber Sky's value. It's red line. It's got the against all flags. It has the rule of 6 combo with the Echo Fly, which is a really really cool one. Um, but it doesn't necessarily have something that you would think can stop a corner of the market lockout, right? There's not a ton of disruption even in the disc. The disc has an arise, but it's not doing anything like super crazy. So Drascore, as someone who hasn't seen this matchup, what do you think is going to happen here?
Well, it's interesting, right? You read Gor- Gyro Otto. How do you say that?
So we
Gyro
called
Otto.
this one. This was Gyarados versus Piplup.
Okay, Gyarados. So
We
Gyarados,
went for the Pokemon names.
I mean, it's got yeah. it so obviously it has the what we were just talking about, right? It's got that lockout, which is super scary. But it's got great things to make it happen, right? Looking at this
Yeah.
logos, right? There's lots to like here. Time Traveler, Double Skippy, right? You've got the Candle Unit, the double articulated Ren. You've got Connectome Transfer for some of these extra pipped out cards to bring them back. Lots to like there. I think the Geistoid with the strong feeling and the is can be good. There's some ways to get Ember on creatures, but right, it's got the tribute collector, some capture pips.
Yeah.
That seems decently good. The Equidon, right, is leaning into the combo, so it does feel a little combo heavy, but it does have 19 printed Ember, and 19 printed Ember, even if you don't get combo, can sometimes just win the day for you, right? So 28 expected, 19 printed. That's pretty good, or 27, whatever it is. And so, but then you look at Pipplorp or whatever, and it
Piplup.
seems fine. Purpleorp seems fine, right? Like, it's got the red line with a double against all flags, which is a strong strong thing to have, because your opponent's really worrying about how much Ember they're generating on a given turn, right? It's got the Drumble to slow down the opponent, and then uh um do the Skyborn magic, the double in here somewhere to time it. It's the disc with the arise. I mean, it seems fine. I don't know. The clipped wings purging the key card is maybe you're out. It doesn't seem amazing to me personally. I don't know. What do you guys look at this and say, like, wow, this deck looks bonkers?
No,
We think
I agree that when I take a look at the at Poopy Club,
none of us
I
can say
I'm so
Exactly.
sorry.
Poopalurp. Pupilurp.
Yeah.
So when I take a look at this deck, I don't really think that it's a top level deck that we expect to see in the event. Yeah, but after the two round, I think it's already perform our over perform what we expected. What you all expect.
Yeah. It is kind of fun in this game to see some of these decks, and sitting across the table for someone, you read their Archon list and you're like, okay, that's fine, and then they come at you and you're like, oh my gosh, like I gotta I gotta be on my game because
Yeah.
they're making stuff happen.
So
And this is one of those decks, I think.
you mentioned the 19 pips and 28 expected amber for Gyarado, but pupilurp, whatever. It's gonna change every time.
Poop alert.
32 expected amber, right?
Yeah.
So it's doing
18
this
pips.
thing where it's out racing you by a lot, and if you try to race, it's gonna punish you with a red line,
Yeah.
or it's gonna play the Brabble first, or not the Brabble, Drumble,
Jumble. Yeah.
Drumble first, let you kill it and gain more amber, and then do the red. So like it's a tough deck to play around. I think the one of the big things is it doesn't have the huge creature control, right? Only 10 creature control. It's mostly the two infinity strops. But we're just not playing in a game right now that has big boards unless you go against TOC, right? And TOC, I think, is struggling against all the winds of death that we're seeing because it's just an easy board clear and you're getting value back. And so a deck like this that's just going really fast, it doesn't have like a slouch of a board. Like the Dis is fine. You can do some nice stuff with it with the Arise. It's not as disruptive as it could be, but I mean, the Geistoid, especially that Echo Fly with the BR Geist being able to get back anything else on that last activation of the Echo Fly, just makes it very, very consistent. It's a nasty deck, and Holy Stew, great player. Both of these players are, but was able to just outrace both games. So I think this one only went 2-0. Grishhammer not able to get the combo going in either of those games, and just the pressure from Pupilor was crazy. So it'll be really interesting to see. We'll go ahead and get to our second match of this quarter of the bracket, and then see what our final matchup looks like. But we do have Holy Stew taking that game 2-0 versus Grishhammer and knocking out what could have been a deck that just rolls all the way to the top, because there's not really a way to interact very much with that corner of the market combo unless you have a really big board already when it comes down. All right, game 6. This is one that was just that was recorded by Zoc. Huge thank you to Zoc. We had just lots of live stuff happening with the casters this weekend, and Zoc was very last minute able to get on and record this, and then we got to do the voiceover for it just a couple hours ago. This is Astron versus Cat Marrow. So sadly, two teammates facing out against each other here, and both bringing some really interesting GR. So let's go ahead and take a look at those. So, what do you guys think of these two decks?
I mean, when you pull up Astron's deck, right, and you start looking, the immediate thing you're hitting the face with is just all the pips everywhere, right? There are pips everywhere. There's lots of damage. There's lots of discard pips. There's lots of ember pips. There's just pips everywhere. So it's doing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it it's got Beanstalk, right? So Beanstalk immediately takes whatever you got in Brobnar and elevates it, right? So you're bringing back your blunderboars, right, for Ember Control, right? So your Ember Control score in however you say this, the Astron's deck's name is probably a little understated. You're bringing back your lifting buddy to make your guys big. The Torch Tooth to just do damage to your opponent's board. So lots to like there. Then the Unfathomable, right? So you've got the Open a Seal thing from the deep, which is which is solid. And then the double Tangy for your Ember Control is pretty nice. The Catch and Release, right? That is big. Especially against some decks that just put out huge boards that we're seeing these days. So Catch and Release, really strong card in this meta right now. And then the Untamed itself, right? You see Cauldron, the Penthe Seed, Lost in the Wild, Reclaimed by Nature for your Purging Ember Control. So a bunch of stuff to like there. So I just see lots of great value here. 18 pips, great stats overall. And just value here from Anxious deck
Don't
from
forget the
Astron's deck.
yeah, formerly known as.
Yeah, it's Anxious Fire.
Don't
Yeah, it's
forget
still yeah, go ahead.
the Waste Not thing from the deep combo is always that dream
Yes.
dream
The
of
dream.
drawing
There you go. I wonder how
15
many times.
cards.
Yeah, how many
I think
times
he
that
said he
actually
got to do that at
triggers.
Worlds in one of his matches, but
Okay. Okay. Cool. Plus, it does have Till the Earth, right? Which is a cool card to have in your quiver when you're going up against all this GR stuff. So it's got Spooky Charge, which may not be the best key cheat, but it can work in a pinch. So it's so cool stuff there.
ah, very sad stat there from Snoopy. That thing from the deep has not been played once in this tournament.
I see. Yeah, it's
Uh,
it's a fine card.
this could
Then
be
you've
better.
got E. Greg, right? Which double rebel, double doctor, already a great right there,
Yeah,
right? Double multi-dimensional rescue, um, which I think Katmaro maybe collects double MDR decks. I don't know. With it's got the retro Texas Lee, got some cool stuff. Until the Earth as well.
yeah.
With the mimicry to use your opponent's best card in a pinch, the Nepenthe Seed, Fangtooth Cavern. Um, I think this looks like a Mars burst deck with a solid amount of recursion, right? With the Nepenthe Seed and the double MDR and the Retro Technician Lee. So, um, it's I see lots of cycling here, lots of ways, lots of recursion here. So
Yeah.
I think this pretty interesting matchup. A lot of value versus a lot of recursion.
Yeah. Riku, who would you guess in this one? Or it's not a guess when you say it. This is who would you favor?
No, I haven't watched the match because I was so I was very busy in the last weekend, but I think this match is very balanced between both of them, and if there anyone can win this one. So it's
Mhm.
maybe sometimes it will be depend on how the draw how the draw go. Yeah, but I obviously I want to root for Astro because he my friend. I mean, Kasmaro is also a friend, but I barely talk to her. So yeah,
Yeah.
So
but I
lesson,
think
folks,
that I
is
think that anyone I root for in the second round will be will
As long
be
as you didn't practice with them, they're fine, right?
yeah.
yeah, lesson for everyone. Just make sure to talk a lot to the Lord Emperor so that you get all the good vibes to do well the tournament. I think that's
No,
the
but I
to do.
No,
everyone
don't
I
do
root
that because everyone he
because
roots for loses.
everyone I root for in this tournament is low in the net round.
Okay. Well, there you go. There you go.
Uh,
It is interesting, right? So, like, Astron's got artifact control, and Katmaro does not here. And
so
there are some important artifacts
yeah,
in this matchup, right? So, I thought that was interesting that you've got Fangtooth and the Penthe seed for me, Greg, and then we talked about the Beanstalk, the Penthe seed and Cauldron
yeah,
for Astron's deck.
yeah. So I actually had mentioned that during the stream, and Catmaro corrected me because E. Greg has a mimicry. So if
Oh,
the
okay.
reclaimed
Yeah,
is in the discard,
yeah,
then E. Greg
that's
does
fair.
have artifact control. So I would say I think I agree, Riku. Like from watching it, I could see this being a very close matchup. It was a 2-1, one of the few 2-1s we've actually had. A lot of it seemed to come from who got kind of the early start. It's very, very interesting though, especially the Till the Earth. Till the Earth, I don't know, Snoopy, if you know how many times Till the Earth was played in those three matchups, but it was more than I've seen played probably in my lifetime of playing Keyforge was played in those three games, which is maybe like 5 or 6, uh, which is not that many. But so Astron game one was able to do a lot of Untamed bursting, and actually I think Spooky charged twice. So Spooky charged, then tilled the earth to get the Spooky charge back, and then did it again for the final key. So just got a lot of aggression there. Got the Beanstalk really early. The best part though was so turn one for Astron. He was going second. Played Beanstalk and Old Boomy. Old Boomy doesn't get ready by the Beanstalk, which is fine, but it survives till the next turn. He goes back into Brobnar, reaps the Old Boomy, archives 8 cards before hitting a Brobnar. And a lot of those
Wow.
were untamed, so he was just off to the races after that, which was awesome to see. Like
Wow.
Old Boomy is such a great card. I love it.
I
And
think
then
style points for playing Old Boomy and Yo Mama Mastery.
right? Two of those Brobnar cards that are like, man, are these actually good or not? But Camaro's deck just ended up, I think, being a little bit more consistent, which is crazy to say because Astron's deck has so many discard pips. So, like we saw in there, the thing from the deep wasn't played, but really Unfathomable was hardly played at all by his deck until the last game. And I think that's just because he had to play something because Catmaro's deck was just getting so far ahead so fast. And so game two was the most kind of like really back and forth, I would say. And then game three, Catmaro's deck just did the Mars stuff really early and kind of, uh, yeah, Astron wasn't able to come back from that, but it's still a very good series. Definitely recommend you go and watch that. But in the end, we do have Catmaro advancing with E. Greg. All right, so that means our upper right corner in the top 8 is going to be Catmaro versus Holy Stew, which is an interesting matchup. So again, Catmaro's deck doesn't have any key cheats, right? So, but
Yeah.
it's a deck that really wants to burst. It really wants to use that Mars. It doesn't have a lot of Amber control, only 6.4. I think pretty much all of its Amber control is in Mars. So it's like the double Brain Dart. You've got the Grabber Jammer, and then the one Abductomatic, and that is almost all of the Amber Control. There's like the one Sabotage mission or something, so all of that Amber Control against such an high expected Amber deck, and one that has red line, but I was only played twice
The
in each of those matches.
oh Till the Earth, yeah,
It
Till the
had
Earth
to
was
have
one
been
played
played
twice
more
in
than
last one.
that.
Oh, okay,
Um,
okay.
so you've got the red line on Holy Stew side, but Camaro's deck has the mimicry. So you have to be so careful about even when you play the red line, because you might just get hit right back with it, depending on how much amber you have. So I think this is actually going to be a super interesting matchup. It's going to be very aggressive. Both of these decks can go very, very fast. And if one doesn't have the answers, then you're just toast. But the creature control on Holy Stew side is going to be a problem again. It's just the double infinity drops mainly. There's a few other random things. I don't know. It could be really interesting. I think the recursion on Camarero side is going to be really, really big. Being able to have the consistency of playing that, really, even if it's just the mimicry, playing the mimicry multiple times to hit things like the red line or like even the against all flags could really, really tip that in their favor. But I don't know. I think this will be a really interesting match. I'm really excited to see it. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about poop alert before, and
It's
you
every
know,
time.
I, I, to me, Greg reads stronger, but I'm probably not thinking about this properly. Like you're probably right that the red line, the pressure, the drumble
Yeah, the
is
Drumble
going to
could be
be a
huge.
thing. Without, right, like you said before, without that key cheat, that is danger. It is dangerous for Egreg to really pop off in Mars and make a million ember and roll 6 when it could all go back the other way. So um we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be
Riku,
interesting.
what's your prediction?
I think Kasparov has an advantage here because she can keep triggers the mimic cry
Yeah.
to get all the good action coming from Holy Steel is in looting the red light rotation and a few other more. So and then the rule of sigmas combo is also a thing that I don't think Holy Steel can stop it. So I think Katmaro had a had an advantage in this matchup.
Yeah, a lot's gonna depend on early draw, right? Because Holy Stew also has the rule of 6 with the Echo Fly. So if that deck just goes fast enough again, Greg doesn't have a ton of amber control. So I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see, but I'm very excited for it. We need to keep plugging though, because this is we're gonna try to keep this
You
to
didn't
an
know we were
hour, and
going to
we're
talk
already
this much
past.
when you
So
invited me on, did you? Go ahead.
Riku in the back there making notes, like already, like, all right, Judo, Orion, we're never inviting them. No, it's been so fun. Super glad to have you. And now we get to talk about your teammate here, which is really fun. So we've got the Wookiee versus JDG. That's right, Wookiee. We're giving him back after tonight. I promise you. So these have both actually again more of the interesting decks, not as much on the Kichi Wadka side. JDG bringing an MM deck, and the Wiki bringing kind of a deck again. Drascore you know well, so why don't we just get into it and we'll let you kind of talk about this deck.
Oh, yeah, so Arya, clearly the best deck in the entire tournament, hands down, right?
All right, moving on then.
It may or may not be my deck. It is my deck, so there you go.
Also for
Uh,
sale. DM me after.
no. I do really love this deck. So, yeah, Arya is just so cool. It's got so many tools, and it can fire in so many different ways. It can burst out of Brobnar, Geistoid, Mars. It's got pieces that can really counter your opponent. The Grim Reaper, the Plan 10, right? You've got double Rebel Doctor. You can rule a 6. The mating season for at the right moments can be a really cool burst. It's got
Yeah.
quad in here somewhere. So a big part of this deck is just figuring out in the matchup and in the draw. What am I doing with in here somewheres, right? Because you can archive to combo Mars. You can just
Hmm.
infinitely archive in here somewheres. You can archive to set up the Brobnar, because Brobnar is a little harder to set up, but if you archive it, you can make it happen, right? It's
Yeah.
got the Brick Nasty with the Riot, double shock herders. It's got the Fiery Jark, another great tool to take out problematic things like Brio and whatnot. So this deck kills Brio. So that means
It sure
it's the
does,
best, right?
and
Yeah,
we got to
yeah,
see that in round one, right? Going against Winds of Exchange deck that did have Brio and had the Holofest, and man, the way this deck could just pick that stuff apart was kind of scary. Really, it's a
yep.
really cool deck. I think the thing that surprised me the most, because I did get to cast their his round one game, was the mating season, which you mentioned. Just
Hmm.
wow, so much more value than that card ever had in like Coda days, right? It was just so
Hmm.
good, putting really good pieces back into your deck, getting you that extra burst. And so far he hasn't been against other Mars, so it's always been one-sided, right? Because that can be bad. But yeah, it's a pretty scary deck. And then on the other side,
Yeah.
we've got JDG representing Mass Mutation, definitely a favorite set of his. And this is a terrifying deck, especially from Mass Mutation.
Yeah.
Tivikari, got the autoencoder, got the Eaton's jar, and does Arya have artifact control? No
No,
artifact control. So like,
no artifact control. So that is a little scary. Cockman him in this matchup and saying, "Oh, the key pieces are artifacts," and worrying about that.
yeah. But Tivikari, kind of one of its primary game plans is actually to get to a loop where you're just playing a few of your Star Alliance cards every turn, and you have your entire deck in hand, and you kind of just slowly lock your opponent out of the game and are able to keep kind of gaining Amber and kind of doing some Amber control and stuff. I don't know. So this is one of the only match from this round I haven't gotten to see at all yet, because it was just played last night and it's like an hour and a half match, which I think it sounded like it was a really good one. I got to see some of the chat afterwards. Riku, did you get to watch it at all? Oh, you
Yeah, I
you
cast.
recorded it.
I'm the I'm the one who
Never
casting.
mind. So tell us about this match.
So so yeah. Despite how much I love math mutation, I'm very I will be very realistic here that that math mutation is already so out the meta. I mean, even the best math mutation cannot keep up with the new power rip coming from the Grim Reminder and even the Amber Sky. I think because the map mutation deck is usually that it's good. It's good on around so it's good at many things, but it's not the best of one thing at all. And then if you take a look at something like the Geese toy coming from the Group Reminder, or even especially like we look at area Geese toy, you can see that it can do so many things at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's why there Ethan Jar that can just play and stop the four in here somewhere from playing. I think it's not good enough to stop the Grim Reminder power. And and yeah, there is the first game. There is the first game that Vicary Zidigi has everything lined up in the early game. He play auto and got the first turn, and then Etanzan the second turn, and then yeah. So it only in that game it stopped area engine completely, and then he got the first win. But then he reset to lost the other two game. I
yeah,
I think I know. I think there's a few line of play that Siddiqui can do better. Uh, yeah, I think because there also a fact that he will play in the convention and not
yeah,
at all with a lousy Wi-Fi. But for now, I think Wookie have proved that he's a better player by playing better game and win the game he outplay Zidigi in the few moment, and that's a very I have to uh, rising him up for outplay Zidigi because Zidigi is also a very good player.
Yeah,
as we all know.
that's high praise.
Yeah,
JDG is
JDG is a
a
great player, and this is not an easy matchup. I have to hand it to my buddy the Wookiee.
yeah.
Was really well played, and
Yeah.
yeah, congrats.
Yeah, also want to thank both of those players just for making this time work. I know this was a really, really tough one to schedule. Both of them had a lot going on this week, so thank you both for making that happen and for Riku for streaming that. But yeah, we got Wookiee taking that 2-1 over JDG. I'm really excited to go watch that one though, because even just again, some of the chat that was going on in their Discord about like I think BR Geisting and Infernus or something that was like huge. Like I want to see what was happening there. So, oh dang it, we're being too nice to Wookiee. We gotta
Yeah, we gotta be
don't want him to
mean.
expect that too much. All right, our last matchup of round 2, we've got Benji Keno versus Lorenzo. Uh, Lorenzo beat some nobody to get to round 2, so we don't need to talk about that. And
Yeah. Nobody on this
Yeah.
stream right now, right?
sorry, Riku, you
I've
agreed
heard
to be on here.
Oh.
You knew it was coming. And Benji Keno beating out Dorian, our world champ from 2023. So both having very, very like impressive wins in round 1, but both also very, very good players. So let's take a look at these decks.
You know, it's interesting. I pull up Record Keeper, and immediately the biggest thing to see is the horrible, horrible aerialist token, right?
Yeah,
And SAS super overinflates some of these Skyborn tokens, which all stink because you have to have the right color key forge that never
yeah.
matches the color of the other cards you want to play. So it's always a problem, right? So um uh, and because there's a minimum amount of SAS you can get per token, it just overinflates a lot of these decks. So immediately I see this and I'm like, this deck's probably overinflated. It's probably not that good, right? But then you start reading it. Then you
Then
start
you look
looking
at
at it. You're like,
every single card in the deck and you're like, oh, oh,
well,
oh, oh.
yeah. Yeah, Double Eddy, the Dasania, great tool at a time like this, right? Double Grip Think Tank is pretty awesome against all the token flood, right? And then you've got double against all flags, double red line rotation. That's pretty awesome. And even the twin lamps, 2 twin lamps for steel,
Yeah,
the save point for steel. So lots of stealing in Skyborn. And then you've got in Untamed, right? You've got the Nature's Call, you've got the Cauldron, you've got the Key Frog, even an Ember Samine Mongrel just to annoy your opponent a little bit, right? The Mollymawk for Ember, excuse me, for artifact control. There's a lot to like in here. That will totally get turned into a crappy aerialist if you if you let it, right? So I
yeah,
don't know. Do you just discard the Massing at Midnight if you're playing this deck, which is normally like an amazing card? Do you just
yeah.
discard it or do you play the Massing at Midnight? I don't know. What do you guys do here?
I mean, Riku, having played against this, you want to tell us what this
Yeah.
deck is
I
doing?
think
I
uh, I
mean,
think they- I think they will always play Mask of Midnight because the token generator is also always good when you want this.
yeah,
And yeah, I mean I think the record keeper is a very solid deck because in uh, in the uh, in the OK, if you because the deck can have a very high stat due to the power of the token, and as we already know that Aerolis is not a good token, but it still has uh, the highest stat in the TCO right now. I think so. So yeah, that's say something.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's a crazy deck, and like you're saying, the tokens, the fact that you're just putting so many creatures on the board and have all of this other value, it's hitting you from every angle, right? So even if, like you were saying, Draz, like, do you play the Massing at Midnight? It's like, well, if your opponent doesn't have enough creature control, then it's just another thing they have to deal with on
Right.
top of your taxing, on top of your key cheat, on top of your red lines. Like it's just, yeah, it's kind of hitting you from all angles. And you've got the Nature's Call. So even if they are bad tokens or things you didn't want tokenized, you just bounce it back to hand. It's a very intense deck. Yeah, stuff we've seen. And then I love Benji Keno's deck here. It's kind of a little bit different from what we've seen from the GR. Again, kind of one of the less key cheat oriented ones, very much more on just the value. It's got the Island of Misfit Toys with 3 junk restorations. You've got the Echo Fly in there, but you've also got the what is that? Key lock? No, that's not the key lock.
The Seas
Default.
Forge. Is that what you're
Seas
talking about?
Forge, man.
Yeah.
Um, which is again one of those very few cards that can stop any kind of keys from forging, whether it's from naturally or from key cheats or what. Like it's a very very strong card, and this deck has some recursion to kind of recycle it, right? So it's could be an interesting matchup, but I think again, just stopping keys doesn't help you very much against red lines. That's kind of exactly what they want, right? If it's stopping keys for both players, then that means both players have a better chance of going above that 6 amber mark. And once you do, Lost Suzerain does have amber control, but it's not the same as what we're seeing in Record Keeper there. So Record Keeper just going to have a chance to, one, key cheat with the Key Frog afterwards, and two, probably is going to have ways to stop your key almost no matter what after the key Cease Forge. So I think this was an uphill battle for Benji Keno. I did get to watch this one earlier, but I was not paying a ton of attention, so I didn't notice a whole lot. I don't know, Riku, did you watch this one?
Yeah, I watched it. This is a very interesting game because how basic approaching this matchup. Yeah, because we when we take a look at this matchup, we will see that suzerain the basic deck it doesn't have any tone to come back. I mean, it doesn't have any tool to deal with the red line rotation and also the key fork
Mm-hmm.
except for the C fork. But when I watch the game, it's a very amusing that Basic play very different from what everyone think by rusting a lot of emperor. At first I think it's like right into the red line rotation, but then I realized that if Lorenzo come to the skyborn, it doesn't have any richer control in skyborn at all. So that's if he con cast skyborn and play red line rotation, it will be the end of the turn. So he can steal a lot of ember, right? But then basically can just play continue to rip use the ma board rip back into the a lot of ember again. So yeah, I think basic approaching the play the risky game very well because he planned to rush a lot of emperor and then play the C fork at the end of the game at the end of of the last key, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that's very amusing. But unfortunately for Bezicano, they also Disania.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when he choose his story to rush a lot of emperor, he also have to play a lot of a lot of cards, and then he play right into the Disania, and that is the most devastating thing that can happen to
Yeah.
him. Yeah, and the second game is not as much interesting as the first one because I think basically rely on the risky game too much on too much more on the second game, and then he keep playing right into the trap of Lorenzo, and then the second game is just the loss for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've got when you're sitting on top of triple Mamet in here somewhere, Target, Echo Fly, you really want to use the archives, right? And if you get punished for using those archives for bringing back the Seas Forage, right? You're um it's going to be tough. Yes, you can burst, but then if you get punished for the red line, yeah, it seems like a tough matchup. Both low C,
Yeah.
so neither can really do that much to each other's board. I guess Suzerain has the War of the Worlds, so that's not nothing. And Record Keeper does not have Mars. Record Keeper has very low C, does have the unnatural selection. So again, that's not nothing.
Yeah.
But and the nature's call. But um the uh I would give an edge to Record Keeper in this matchup.
Let's see. And that is what we got. So yeah, Lorenzo taking this one. I believe this was also 2-0, right, Riku? So it's not almost all
Yeah,
2-0s for our round two. Those maybe only one or two 2-1s, which is pretty
I
intense.
think that I think there's only the one 2-1 with either Wookiee and ZDG game.
I
And
thought
that
there was
is
another one. Astron and Catmero.
that was yeah.
Oh, right.
That was the two
Yeah.
one. Yeah, so
Yeah.
2-2-1s.
Snoopy
Yeah.
saying Desania was played twice in that match and discarded 12 cards. So that's
Oh,
12 amber for
that's gotta
Lorenzo.
hurt.
That's a
That's
lot of value and a lot
gotta
of
hurt.
lost value for Benji Keno. So again,
Yeah.
we've got our last bottom right corner here for our top 8, the Wookiee versus Lorenzo. And this, I think this will be an interesting matchup, but
Mhm.
oh no, it happened again. I thought we checked these.
Ah,
I kept looking at the right side. We don't have the Wookiees deck on there. Oh, no.
the greatest deck in all the land.
Yeah. Well, you want to tell us one more time, a little, just very brief overview of what's in that deck, and we'll kind of talk through what we think is going to happen in this matchup
Triple in here somewhere. Big Mars
versus
package.
Desania. All right, we know what's
Full
happening.
Barber stuff. Yeah, yeah. So right. So that is a problem. That is going to be a real problem. But you don't have to rely on a big archive, right? It does have the Winds of Death, but again, you don't have to rely on a huge archive with Arya. It helps a lot, but it's not a straight up killer. Whereas when I looked at the previous matchup, uh, I was struggling to see how Lucius Ren, unless I mean it does have the triple junk, right? But it I feel like Lucius Ren relies more on the archive. Um, Whereas Arya, like, use the mating season to bring back your Mars stuff, right? You can
Yeah.
use the in here somewheres to get yourself haunted, and then you can pull your archives quickly for value, right? So you're only losing two ember, giving up 2 ember to your opponent, right? So I think there's things you can do here, and then I think with Record Keeper having 19 creatures plus tokens, I think the plan 10 will be a big deal. So that could be good, and then you can also purge key pieces. So that's going to be good. The red lines are going to be hard to counter, though, right? Record
Yeah.
Keeper's red lines, that's going to be a big deal. The eddies into the red lines is going to be tough. So Wookiee's gotta be on his game, and Renzo's gonna be coming for him.
Yeah, I think the plan 10 is really interesting against token sets too, because you actually get to see what's under the token. You're still giving it back to them, but that actually gives you some visibility into what's going to be in their hand. If those tokens were cards like red line, you now know they have the red line in hand. And so like most of the time you're assuming they have it anyways, but knowing they have it does give you a little bit more ability to maybe make smarter decisions or stuff. But yeah, I think it's going to be an uphill battle for Wookiee, but he's playing very well, so we'll see what happens here. Are you gonna practice this with him, or do you practice Wookiee?
Perhaps he will he's definitely been posting in Team AC channel, so
Okay.
I may be maybe doing that for long.
Should be an interesting one, but very excited to see that one play out as well. Sorry again about the technical issue there. We'll fire our slide person now. No, there's been a lot of people working on this again, and we are so happy to even have like this whole slide deck is all Judo and Riku who put this together, and it's fantastic stuff. But again, very busy weekends for everyone, so not everything is kind of as perfect as we'd like, but we're just gonna keep rolling with it. So this is what we started the tournament with. Again, half of it was GR. We've got a lot of Amber Skies, decent amount of tokens, and then just a smattering of other stuff. After round 1, we were down to this. Still a lot of GR. We lost our only Coda deck, but everything else was still in there. And then after round 2, we lost a lot of stuff. So again, only 8 decks left. Over half now are GR. And then we've got 1 Amber Skies, 1 tokens, and 1 AOA. Short Zard is gonna try to bring the AOA love back.
The only legacy set still around there, so
yeah,
we'll see.
I mean, it's still a scary deck, but it does have a pretty rough matchup ahead of it. all the Winds of Exchange getting knocked out, and then our last Mass Mutation getting knocked out. So again, just looking at what we started the tournament with, this is not super surprising, but also like it's just a lot of GR. So we're gonna see a lot more Wadka, but there are gonna be some Wadka like mirror matches coming up, and a lot of the GR that's left too is actually some more interesting stuff. So I think we are gonna see there's gonna be a lot of good matchups in this round.
Yeah, but somehow I have to say that the bearing system random it's not so much random because we have like we have 16 grim reminder deck and 11 of them on the left side racket. So yeah, on the set have to eliminate the each on the right side, and then that is something else we should take into account as well.
Do you know whose idea it was to do the random pairing? I believe that
Random
was
Who,
your
who,
idea, Riku.
who? I
random
don't
does
know. I
not
don't know
mean
who.
evenly spread, right? So I think that's how random works sometimes, you
Riku's
know.
just sad he was on a side of the bracket. Oh, well, you were on the side of the bracket that didn't have most of the GR, right? You wanted to see GR, and you got
Yeah.
paired with
my
tokens
my
round
my,
one.
my deck my deck really want to play again ZR, and then I have to play again a lot of token of Chen and on the right side.
Yeah. So Snoopy saying 3 of the 5 Wadka decks have been eliminated, and the last 2 are actually facing each other, right? That's going to be
Oh,
Pastor Ass versus Painted AI. So we'll only have one
mm.
Wadka deck left after this round, no matter what. But those decks are also
Yeah.
2 of like, I mean, these are all the 8 best decks, like some of the best decks we have, right? But those 2 decks are very, very scary.
No,
So
I think that there can be two worker coming to the top four because Bearded AI is playing Badola, and the other worker is us play it with Joseph.
oh,
So
why
it
did I think those were
yeah.
playing each other? Never mind. Sorry,
No,
I,
no,
I
no.
had that wrong. I thought those 2 were playing each other. Okay, well, that's gonna make some people unhappy. There's
Here I was excited we were gonna be able to answer the age-old question of what's hotter, AI or ass. But unfortunately, we won't be able to answer that question.
all right. Let's get into our predictions here. Was this? Let's see. I didn't get a chance to look at this Riku too much, so you might have to help me with what we're looking at. Is this after round, or is this round 2 predictions now?
I think this one haven't update yet. It's the one the round one. I think this
This
is
is
what
round.
round one.
Oh, here we go. Here we got the round 2. Okay. So round 1 we had Massimo, JDG, and Gnocchi being at the top there. Nochi? No, no. I want to say gnocchi like the like food, but Nochi. Being at the top with Massimo being really far ahead there with a 30 points and then a couple in the 25 range there. But round 2 now, big change, right? Massimo's still up there, but not quite at the top. Ian Yoink, who is our resident Keyforge trivia person, apparently also knows his players and decks and has shot up to the lead in the prediction rankings here. Followed by Massimo, who's still doing very well. Lord Olaf and Pietro Ravioli and Nochi still being up there. So man, lots of familiar names up there. Astron, Easy, Galena also being close to the top there. Lots of people tied kind of up in that upper range, but catching Ian Yoink and Massimo is going to be pretty tough now. This next round is only worth. Did you say it's only worth 1 point, or was that
No,
round
next
one
round
that
will
was
be
worth one?
four.
This round will
Yeah,
be 4 points. Okay,
yeah.
so only 4 matches, 4 points each. So you got to get them right if you want to catch up, and you're kind of in the middle of that group. But let's take a look at the deck stats here. What kind of stuff is jumping out to you guys first? We already saw kind of the house or the set distribution, right? But what other things are we seeing here?
I mean, obviously AOA is the best because it's got 100% win rate, right?
Yeah, that's all we need to know from this graph, right?
Yeah.
That's the only true data from this. So
I mean,
AOA
this is where,
is
right, you could make numbers say whatever you want to say, right? So you could also say that, hey, look at that. So the second largest win percentage, most wins, GR, perhaps not surprising. Most decks coming in as GR, but
yeah.
a lot. Um, and I think we'll keep seeing a lot of GR victories just because how many we have left. So it'll be interesting to see if right? Like if AOA actually got all the way to the end and actually won, like that would be kind of crazy. That would be kind of crazy and cool. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't necessarily rule it out, right? Charizard is a really cool deck, but I think it's going to be an uphill battle to see that.
Yeah. That one's facing off against Pastor Ass, right? It's gonna be
Mhm.
it's gonna be rough, but could happen.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
some other things here. So TOC has I think been the most interesting one for me. I really expected there to be more TOC decks in the tournament, and I kind of thought they would do well. I wasn't sure if they were gonna do better actually. I thought there would be more, but I do think GR has a pretty good matchup into TOC most of the time because of what we talked about, right? With the key cheats, it's just not something that TOC is built to handle as much, except for the taxing. Certain TOC decks can tax really heavily with things like the Levy of Souls, but we didn't see. I guess we did see some of the Katina Fiend decks, but I believe both of those now are knocked out, and that was not against GR for the most part, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Perhaps, yeah, I'm not sure, but
yeah,
did you see it
that
was Record Keeper who's left does have double Eddie, right?
yeah.
So it does have the ability to tax there. Um, plus with the double against all flags, it's like, well, do I need to go high to actually forge and then pop double red line rotation? So it's that Record Keeper can tax and scare with what it's got.
Yeah. And looking down below, it is just unfortunate, like you were saying, Riku, just the distribution was kind of interesting. So both of our only mass mutation decks faced against each other round one. So no matter what, one of those was getting knocked out right away. TOC, I don't think faced each other at all. Lots of GR facing each other, of course, because of the quantity of those. And then both of our WoE decks getting knocked out, which is, yeah, tough. I think WoE is in a tough place right now for the most part, although there are still some outliers. But we'll just see what happens in these next rounds if these other sets can kind of hang on or if they're all gonna fall to the GR train. All right, as far as our teams go, we can run through this kind of quick because it's just sad. No, there's still a lot of great players left, but we started with a lot of different members of different teams. Drascore, your own AC had 4 entrants into this, and then Riku Reapout having 5. And then now, let's see. Oh man, are these lost one by one? All
Oh
right, Gino.
wow.
We talk
Yeah,
about this.
I clicked through one by one.
Just slowly seeing the faces disappear. Like, who's next? ABR losing some. ABR losing
Is that
all of
all
them.
of
Some of
ABR
these
out?
individual
Wow.
teams, the no name, AFK losing some members.
Mhm.
Man, yeah, this is just brutal. And then, so this is after
Mm-hmm.
round 1. We're left with this. And then
Mhm.
after round 2, okay, this one he just did it all
There
at
we go.
once, I
There it
guess.
pops. Yeah. Yeah.
After round 2, here we are. So AFK, Rebound, No Name, Sloppy Lab Work, ABR. I'm not sure what's the. Oh, that's Mulgogi's team, right? What is that one, Riku? The
Yeah.
WAG.
I forgot. I forgot the name. Yeah. So I'm so sorry.
Nah, you're good. But Mulgogi's team there. So Holy Stew being the only unteamed member sitting off in the corner there. I should change the size a little bit so we can see him. And then we've got 2 members of Future Self, I think is what it is. Is it Future Self or
Yep.
Future Sight? I think it's Future
Yeah.
Self. 2 members of Future Self. So they are now the dominant team after 2 rounds. And they're not going to face each other unless they get to the finals, right? They're on opposite sides of the bracket. So we could still
Yeah.
see a team versus team finals, but they've got their work cut out for them. All of these players do, right? We're down to so many. Every player in this tournament is a very good player, so no one's got an easy road to get to the finals. But yeah, some big names knocked out here for sure. But we'll see which team or which personal player can make it to the top. Looking at our countries really quick, we can just kind of breeze through the. Oh, again, we're gonna just slowly
All the
drop them
Antarctic
off.
players were already knocked out, So.
Yeah, those guys need to get it together. They're all being lazy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we are left here. So all of our Asia Pacific players over there getting knocked out. Still got some Europe and a couple North America here
Mhm.
left, but things
Is
are
that
dwindling fast.
is that Canada, or is that just a distribution of images thing?
Wookie, you live in Canada now.
Is that Wookie? Oh, that is
That
like,
that
I
would be
mean,
Wookie.
Wisconsin is basically Canada, so
It's all the
yeah,
same, right?
yeah.
uh, but yeah, so this will be interesting. It's great to have, I mean, it's an awesome tournament in general just to have so many people from so many different parts of the country. We had lots of different continents represented here, which is fun, but we are down to EU versus NA. It's not EU, I guess, technically, right? It's different European countries. And then North America here, as well as Wisconsin. It snowed today. It was like
Wow,
80 something here. It was
it
wonderful.
was like, yeah, it was high 60s here in Philly, so yeah.
I can't do it. I can't do it up there. Might as well be Canada. Yeah. All right. So, with all of that, we are just about wrapped up here. Let's take a look at this bracket one more time after round one, down to our 16, and then round two, starting again right after this ends. We'll get those rooms up and pairing or scheduling will start. We've got Matsy versus Harmed, Mike Fooney versus GJ999, Holy Stew versus Catmarrow, and the Wookie versus Lorenzo. Only 4 matches this week. There's only 8 players left. Again, I can't say enough how
Exciting.
vicious this tournament is, being single elimination. Riku, you are heartless. But it's been so good, so much drama, so much great Keyforge being played, and we're very, very excited to see how these next matches shake out. So be on the lookout for those as we go from here. Again, we've been posting the links for the event in the Discord, so be watching for those to make sure you get to catch them live. Otherwise, every single one is going to be on the Final Refrain YouTube pretty fast after the match is done. We're trying to get those up there really quick. So I think that's our last slide. Any last thoughts from you guys going into this round? Which match are you most excited to see? I think Draz probably you probably.
Oh, I got to see my buddy the Wookiee.
Oh, I was gonna say
I'm
Harm
excited for
versus
that one.
Matsy because the ass, but you can say your
Oh,
team
the
pick, I
ass,
guess.
yeah, we all like to talk about the ass, right? So, uh, but these are all gonna be great matches, right? Like you know, various players here I know better than others, but they're all great players, and a lot of respect for all of them. And anyone could win here. We talked about who we thought, from a deck matchup perspective, had some advantages, but great players. So um, anything could happen.
Yeah, Riku, which one are you looking forward to?
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think for me personally, I think I would want to squad the my Fury and Gizen and I game. Because yeah, I think it will be present very well how the top European player and the top US player play against each other right now, and also bot deck I can be seen as a very good one coming from the bot continent. Yeah, so that will be the one I want to watch the most.
I think, I mean, they're all going to be good. I think the Holy Stew Cat Marrow, one, because I've just been following the players in that, like, I've casted the most from that group, but also just like, it's the last Amber Skies. I love Amber Skies as a set. Really want to see how it goes against just a very solid GR deck. Again, it's not a deck that's doing like the Wadka stuff. So I think it's going to be a really interesting matchup. Could be very, very fast. Uh, but I'm very excited to see that one. But I think there's going to be all of these are going to be great games, like we've been saying. But I think we've already gone a little over our hour time limit here. So I'm going to get us wrapped up. Drazcore, huge thanks for joining us. We'd love to get you on some of the actual streams in the next couple weeks as we finish out these finals too. If you're interested, Riku, we
Absolutely.
cannot thank you enough for running this tournament. It's been a blast. This was all your idea. It's been so much fun. Um, sorry you got knocked out. But it just makes for more drama, right? There's so many other people we need to thank. So Snoopy, who's in the chat, going to be posting some stats. Huge thanks to them for their work on going through all of these and even transcribing some games by hand. Algernon has been doing tons in the background.
I'm sorry, Sloppy.
It's all Riku's fault that Snoopy has had to do that. No, we're trying some new stuff with pulling all of the game logs from each game, and it's been good for the most part, but it is hard because we're not used to that. Algernon's been doing tons in the back. We've got lots of content creators who've been doing stuff that need big things. All the participants have been awesome. Like we haven't had, there's been some tough scheduling, but no one, like there's not been any bad attitudes or anything. Like it's just been a fantastic tournament all around. So we're so excited to keep it going. But also we need to go to bed, except for Riku. You need to go back to bed, I guess.
Get on with your day.
But thank you all so much for hanging out and joining us for this recap stream. Again, be on the lookout for the next matches. And yeah, we will see you for round 3 of the final refrain. Take care, everyone. And we'll see you later.
Thanks all.
See you.